Israeli sniper. The settler colony terrorist regime of Israel has been expanding the genocide of Gaza into Lebanon, into Yemen, into Syria, into Iraq. And we are here today to pay tribute to all of our martyrs from 76 years ago till today. Every single martyr is represented today in our voices, in our drive and love for humanity. So today we pay tribute to our martyrs, and we say not another martyr, not another dime, because this is being funded by our state. And I'm not even talking about our country, the USA, on a federal level, but on a state level. Here in Pennsylvania, $136 million of Pennsylvania state taxes have been funding this genocide. 70% of the weapons and warfare used on our siblings in Gaza and Lebanon and Yemen are either manufactured or funded by the United States. And anyone who dares stand up for humanity and demands divestment is being penalized by Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is one of 27 states out of 50 states that is penalizing corporations and individuals for standing up and standing against genocide and demanding that our money stays in Pennsylvania to fund our communities, our education, and our children. That is approximately 250 million Americans who are denied their civil liberties and who are repressed, and their civil liberties and their First Amendment rights are being denied for colonialization and for genocide. $136 million, again, of Pennsylvania state taxes are funding this genocide. 78% of Americans are being denied their civil liberties to stand up and say we want Pennsylvania to divest. So we are here today for our martyrs, each and every one of them. The ones that were thrown off of buildings, the ones that were sodomized and raped by dogs, for the men who were buried alive in mass graves. There are over 500 mass graves in Gaza. From the south of Gaza to the north of Gaza, there is mass grave after mass grave after mass grave after mass grave. Our siblings in Gaza are crying to us and saying, we are running out of soil to bury our dead. Our women, our mothers are being forced into sterilization. Their wounds are being taken out of their bodies so that they will not have more Palestinians to repel, to stand up and resist colonization. Babies are born just to die. There are more babies who are dying now than living. Our infants that are taken out of the wombs of their mothers before they had a chance to breathe. Let that sink in. Every child in Gaza has lost either an arm or a leg or a parent. And our resistance fighters, let us pay tribute to them as well. Because when we pay tribute to our martyrs, we must also pay tribute to our fighters who stand up against oppression. An army of orphans who are resisting occupation, apartheid, and genocide. They are doing this so that the next generation after them can be liberated and free from the river to the sea, because everyone in Palestine is occupied, oppressed, colonized. And we are going to do our parts. We are going to do our parts in the resistance to stand up against the USA, because we over here have a direct responsibility to make sure that Pennsylvania divests from state and federal genocide. We're not going to stop. We're going to keep calling for an arms embargo. We're going to keep calling for divestment. We're going to break the two-party system. Next time, go out and vote for a third party. Vote for Jill Stein, an anti-Zionist Jewish woman. are activists, and we will vote for them, and we will break the two-party system. One small way for liberation. Because we all know, everyone here knows, that the struggle for liberation in Palestine goes way after November. We will keep fighting long after elections are over. Politicians and elections will never save us. We will save us. We will save ourselves. Community, the people, the powers and the people in the streets. Each and every one of you has power. And when we unite and come together, we are more powerful than the bombs that are dropped on our civilians. The other day, I read a will from 10-year-old Russia, found under the rubble. And in her will, she says, "Do not cry over me, because I do not like to see anyone sad. I would like my clothes and my belongings to go to those in need. I would like my monthly allowance of 25 shekels, $5, to go to my brother Ahmed and my sister Rafa. My toys to go to Batul. And I would like you to not yell at my brother Ahmed." And that was her will. That is what she left the world with. And she is who we're fighting for. Her and him and every child in Gaza, every mother, every father, every one of our siblings. Palestinian Muslim, Palestinian Christian, Palestinian Jews, our Lebanese brothers and sisters, our Yemeni brothers and sisters. Every single person who is being targeted for simply resisting oppression and simply wanting to live. So I ask each and every one of you here today, what is your will? What are you willing to do for your brothers and sisters and siblings across the globe? What are you willing to do? With your voice, with your bodies. What are you willing to do? And what will you leave this world with? What will you leave behind? Will you boycott? Yeah. Will you demand Pennsylvania divest? Yeah. Will you demand an arms embargo? Yeah. Will you keep coming to the streets? Yeah. Will you raise your voices louder and say stop funding genocide? Will you say not another martyr, not another nickel? Not another martyr, not another nickel. Not another nickel, not another martyr. Not another nickel, not another martyr.
Again, let's just stick to our message here, which is an end to the genocide in Palestine, an arms embargo on Israel, and Pennsylvania to divest from funding genocide. Our siblings in Palestine need us to be committed, need us to be disciplined, and need us to focus on this message to divest from Israel. Thank you so much.
And thank you to all of you for joining us, for gathering here in solidarity of all the 42,000 people who have been brutally murdered. And according to Lancet article, that actual number goes to 180,000. The question is, has that made anybody in the world safer? We have an interfaith group here. Everybody from all religions is here. We have our Jews brother. Are Jews safer because of Netanyahu? 42,000 people killed, children killed, and it has made everybody unsafe. That is brutality, and it is funded by our money. At this point, with wars extending to Lebanon, Yemen, where do we have any end in sight? We are at 1 year mark. Is there any end in sight? No. And that is because of military-industrial complex just selling their weapons and our government enabling that, and that needs to end. Those 42,000 people are dehumanized. In our media, they are just numbers. Do we see their photos on mainstream media? Do we see the pictures of Hind on BBC, CNN? They are humans. It is social media, through which we can see their faces. Our mainstream media has just limited them to the numbers. It is dehumanization. Any human rights organization that has not stood up against this genocide, do they have any moral authority to stand for that? Does US has any moral authority after committing this genocide to ask any other country to stop their human rights abuses? We don't have any moral authority, and that is done because of Zionism. They have used the name of religion. They've used the name of religion to do this fight, but only to hurt the religion. They have hurt Jews the most, and those Jews who are standing with the genocide, they might not know this is short-sighted view. It does not make their generation safe. Any one person, for one person, they are killing thousands of people. And what about their relatives? What about their next generation? For how many generations will Israel fight this? Their occupation has to end. The world needs peace, and we are demanding justice. Justice has to be for every child. We stand here for those who don't have voice, who were killed in cold blood. Hind was talking on the phone, 6-year-old child, when she was brutally murdered. Recently, Aisha Noor Ezki, American peace activist, killed in cold blood. Why is our government not protecting Americans? Or is it that there are certain Americans, there are only certain humans who have rights? And until we keep doing that, it does not make anybody in the world safe. How much budget is going towards the wars? How much budget is going towards these genocides? Recently, FEMA said after Hurricane Helene, if another hurricane hits, we don't have money. We don't have money for people who are suffering here. Why are we sending $38 million a day to Israel? Billions of dollars. Even this week, they sent more billions of dollars. People here in America don't have money, don't have resources. Housing, education, healthcare needs are not met, and they are spending money on this genocide. Whose interest is that? It's not making America safe. It's not making Israel safe. It's not making Palestine safe. It's not making any part of the world, any human being safe. And that needs to stop. And we are asking for ceasefire. And we have been asking for this ceasefire for a year. So ceasefire now.
Ceasefire now!
Ceasefire now.
Ceasefire now!
And we are asking to stop sending arms. Arms embargo now. No more weapons. And we need justice like it is due right for any human being, that each child out of those hundreds of thousands of people, they were a universe. They were created by the same God on whose name they ask your vote in the election for being pro-life. How is it pro-life to kill those people, those children, indiscriminate bombing? Why is church not standing against that? Why is all the people who ask to be pro-life, where are they now while people are getting killed? It's hypocrisy. They're not actually pro-life. They're just being hypocrites, or there are certain people. Where are climate activists? 10,000 tons bombs dropped. Where are climate activists? Would it not affect the whole planet? It, of course, will. This hurricane, this worsening cycle, the climate effect would hurt us all, and it is done by the Zionists, and it needs to stop. So we ask for ceasefire, we ask for arms embargo, we ask for stopping the funding, we ask for the hypocrisy to end, and we ask for peace, and we ask for justice for all. Thank you so much.
I would like to welcome Rabbi Dovid Feldman, a spokesman for Notre Quatre, international movement founded in the 1930s in Jerusalem, in Quds, to protect the Jewish community from the new Zionist movement. Over the past few decades, NKI has been active in giving publicity to the voice of opposition for many Jewish communities around the world to the Zionist ideology. The Zionist state and its crimes committed to the Palestinian people. They explain to the world the distinction between Judaism and Zionism, that the relatively new Zionist movement is a rebellion against God, and that it does not represent the Holy Torah, nor does it represent the entirety of the beautiful Jewish people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. We are standing here after a full year of genocide going on in Gaza. But as was said before, this occupation, these crimes didn't start just a year ago. This is unfortunately going on already over 76 years. This is criminal, and this is criminal from day one. It's just now that finally the world is waking up when we are witnessing this brutal genocide going on for a full year, and then we see this massacre in Lebanon going on. Unfortunately, we don't see the end of all these calamities. And it's about time for us here. It's about time for Pennsylvania. It's about time for the United States of America. It's about time for the world to wake up and to stop this injustice, to stop these crimes, to stop this bloodshed. We are here, peoples of all different backgrounds, because we are human beings, because we care, because it pains. It is painful when we are witnessing the news. We are seeing the images. We are watching the feeds coming from Gaza, from Lebanon. This should disturb every right-minded, every righteous person. But we as Jewish people are even more embarrassed because all of this is sadly being done in our name. Our name is being misused for all these crimes. And on top of this, this is a true desecration of God's name. When the Jewish religion is being misused to justify all these crimes. How embarrassing is it when Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, stands up just recently in the United Nations and recites verses from that Torah that he refuses to follow. This is true hypocrisy. He is misusing a religion in order to justify unacceptable crimes, crimes forbidden in that very religion he claims to somehow represent. This is a propaganda tool, and we should know better. We should overcome this propaganda, because this propaganda aims on silencing us all. They want you to believe that if you stand up against these crimes, God forbid you fight God or his religion. But we should know better than that. In no way does the state of Israel represent world Jewry. And in no way does it represent the Jewish religion. We have masses of Jewish people worldwide, from the United States to occupied Palestine, who not only disagree with Israel, but publicly denounce it, publicly denounce all crimes it commits. According to Judaism, all of this is forbidden. Killing, stealing, oppressing an entire people, occupying another's land, all of this is forbidden in Judaism. Even before any of these crimes, even before anyone realized how dangerous this movement of Zionism will be, the Jewish leadership at the time in Palestine and in Europe, which was the main concentration of religious Jews, publicly, vehemently opposed the movement of Zionism, because it is in total contrast to the very basics of Judaism, even before committing any crimes to others. According to Judaism, there is a concept of Jewish exile. We believe this is a divine decree which we are forbidden to end by any physical means. Jewish people are required by their religion to live as peaceful, loyal citizens in whichever country we reside. This is how Jewish people conducted themselves for thousands of years. And this is how Jewish communities did live in peace in Palestine and in other Muslim countries. We didn't have a problem living amongst the vast majority Muslim community in Palestine or in other Muslim countries. We were not a threat to the Muslims, neither were the Muslims to us. We lived in perfect peace. Why? Because we did not fight other people. We did not rebel against Almighty God. We did not act in total contrast to Judaism. On the contrary, we lived as loyal, peaceful people and following our religion. This is all what we wanted, is only the practice of our religion. When we are seeing today the movement of Zionism, not only destroying Palestine, not only destroying Lebanon, destroying the Jewish people as well. We had peace, we want peace, we fight for peace. It is the movement of Zionism which is unfortunately destroying everyone. Yes, Zionist propaganda is here to confuse the masses, and they will always remember the Holocaust. Yes, we should remember the Holocaust. All of us should remember the Holocaust. And this should be a lesson for all of us. Not to allow any injustice, any genocide to any people. Unfortunately, the Holocaust is being weaponized, is being used for propaganda to support this criminal movement of Zionism and to silence whoever speaks up for justice, whoever speaks up for humanity. And this is criminal, this is unjust, and this is miscrediting the Holocaust and what happened to my grandparents. My grandparents would never want to see their suffering being used to inflict suffering on others. The other way around. Zionist propaganda attempts to present this image as if when you criticize crimes of Israel, somehow you are anti-Semitic. We should overcome this propaganda. Anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism in any way. Why? For many reasons. To begin with, Zionism and Judaism to begin with is not the same. Judaism is a religion only, the belief in God and the practice of His commandments, versus Zionism, which is a purely political movement, should never be conflated. If we are witnessing crimes, those crimes must be condemned. Those crimes must be stopped, regardless who the perpetrators of those crimes are. In our case, when these crimes are being perpetrated by some people from Jewish descent, doesn't make the criticism anti-Semitic. Just for me as a Jewish person, this is embarrassing, because unfortunately this is being done in my name, in the name of my people. Conflating anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism, conflating Zionism with Judaism, is not only doing injustice for Palestine, when this is attempting to silence every support for those suffering people in Palestine, but this is doing harm for the Jewish people as well. When you conflate the two, you make a statement. You are saying that God forbid all Jews support all these crimes, which ends up making a statement that God forbid all Jews are accountable to what is happening. This is exactly what the Zionist movement is doing. They are endangering the Jewish people, and they are incorporating us all into their crimes, and we should never allow that. We are here for humanity. We are here for all suffering people. We are here for justice. We are remembering the Holocaust, and we are remembering what is happening presently now in Gaza and in Lebanon. We demand a total permanent ceasefire. We are demanding this already for a full year. But let me tell you, a ceasefire is not going to help. Hopefully it's going to stop the war. But unfortunately the occupation will still be in place. Unfortunately, so many people are still going to suffer. As a religious Jewish person, I'm standing here and I say, according to my religion, this entire occupation has to stop. This has to stop in order to please God. God doesn't want to see all of this. And we have to end this occupation for the sake of the suffering people who are suffering each and every day, each and every minute. We should stand up on the streets here in the United States of America. We urge the rest of Americans to wake up. It's about time to do something for people who are suffering. It's us in the free world who can do something for them. If we are not going to do for them, who would? We demand an end to this genocide. We demand an end to this occupation. We demand freedom for Palestine and for Lebanon. We demand all rights be restored to all oppressed peoples. And we hope that once this cause to bloodshed will stop, once that this cause to this endless cycle of bloodshed will stop, we hope to see once again that beautiful peace that did exist in Palestine amongst all different peoples. We hope to see that once again soon in our days, inshallah, God willing. Thank you very much.
My name is Father John Stratton, and I serve as the Dean of the Cathedral Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. I am a proud member of the Democratic Socialists of America, and I am a member of the Lehigh Valley Palestinian Coalition. And it is an honor to stand with you as we together stand in solidarity with the people of Palestine whose lives have been upended, who have been torn from their homes, who have lost so much on account of a genocide that has been funded by these United States of America. Lord, have mercy. Christ, have mercy. Now, today is Sunday, so it should be no surprise that I just came back from church. And this morning in church, we read a story from the good book about a Jewish rabbi who also lived under occupation in Palestine 2,000 years ago. And in this particular story that we read this morning in church, this rabbi, whose name was Jesus, just in case you haven't caught on yet, this rabbi named Jesus, he welcomed a group of Palestinian children, and he blessed them. Now, maybe you're familiar with this story. If you're familiar with this story, you know that some of Jesus's disciples, they did not care for these children. They did not think that these children were important, but the Jewish rabbi had a different opinion. He embraced them. He welcomed them. He blessed them. He brought them into the center. He brought children into the center who also knew what it was like to live under occupation, who also knew what it was like to have to leave their homes in the middle of the night, who also knew what it was like to lose folks because of colonialism. He brought these children in the center and he blessed them. He told them that they were important and that their lives mattered. And when I heard this story, read in church this morning, about a group of Palestinian children that a Jewish rabbi blessed, I could not help but think about all the children that Israel has bombed. Thousands of children have lost their lives, and thousands and thousands and thousands more have lost their homes, their hospitals, their schools, and their parents, and their food, and their water. Let's just be clear, this did not have to happen. Let's be clear, this should not have happened, and one of the reasons why it happened is because our decision makers right here, our legislators right here, decided to send bombs destined for schools and homes and children in Palestine when they could have sent food destined for children right here in Pennsylvania. When they could have sent funding destined to schools right here in Pennsylvania. When they could have sent health care destined to families right here in Pennsylvania. When they could have chosen to send blessings, they chose to send bombs dropped on the very children that that Jewish rabbi named Jesus blessed and welcomed and said that their lives mattered. And so this afternoon I got a question that is directed specifically towards my Christian siblings, directed especially towards those folks who claim to follow the Jewish rabbi from Galilee, especially those brothers and sisters who are decision makers, who sit in places of power. My question for you today is this: are you going to take Jesus' example seriously? Because you cannot follow Christ and bomb your neighbor. Are you going to take Jesus' word seriously? Because genocide does not fit inside the command to love thy neighbor as thyself. Are you gonna send blessings destined for children right here in Pennsylvania? Or are you gonna keep on sending bombs destined for children over there in Palestine? Because if you want to follow Jesus, a rabbi who is respected in all of our Abrahamic faiths, if you want to follow Jesus, then you gotta divest from genocide. You gotta divest from colonialism. You gotta divest from apartheid. You gotta divest from bombs and instead invest in blessings for all of God's children. Thank you so much. God bless you, and God bless the people of Palestine.
Basim Al-Qara. He is the executive director of Cair Action. His family is from Gaza, and he lost over 113 members in the massacres resulting from the ongoing genocide. Basim is the only Muslim to have sued both Trump and Biden. Can we just give him a round of applause for the Muslim ban, and recently sued Biden, Blinken, and Austin for complicity in genocide. From 2009 to 2021, Al-Qara served on the California Democratic Party's executive board and was also a DNC delegate. In 2016, he became the first Muslim and Arab American elected to political office in California's capital city, serving as the president of the school board in Sacramento. Please give a warm welcome.
Assalamu alaikum. I can't hear you. Assalamu alaikum. It's an honor to be here in Harrisburg. We have folks from all over Pennsylvania, from Lancaster, from York, from Pittsburgh, from Philadelphia. I came out from California to show some love because you're more important than California, as you know. You're gonna just help decide this election. So, yes, I sued them for complicity in genocide, but it's not complicity. It's partnership in genocide. And this partnership on the war in Gaza and in Lebanon, nothing is off limits to them. 800 mosques destroyed. Now they're destroying the mosques in Lebanon. They're destroying hospitals. They're destroying churches. And McGurk, the neoconservative in the Biden administration, is behind this and justifying this. And that's why Dick Cheney and other neoconservatives are supporting you know who, because the neoconservatives are still in power. And just this morning, we saw the report that Blinken signed off that Israel can attack the humanitarian aid trucks inside of Gaza. So I want to take you back to 2002, right after 9/11. I took 3 of my friends from UC Berkeley to Gaza. And this is before the pullout, and this area was all destroyed. And there was a wall, and it said, in English, "You may destroy our homes, but you'll never destroy our souls." And then there was a man and his wife, and I went up to them, I said, "These are my friends from America, they want to say hello to you." And they were like, "Oh, you're from America? We heard after 9/11, they've been giving you a hard time." And the people they were shocked. They're like, "Wow, look, they're thinking about us. Everything around them is destroyed, and they're thinking about the civil rights issues happening in America." And these folks are paying attention. When the encampments happened, what did they do? They wrote the names of the universities on their tents. When Ferguson was happening, and I just came from Missouri, when Ferguson happened and the protesters were getting tear gassed, the Palestinians said, "Hey, we've been through that. Here's what you need to do." And now, my brothers and sisters, history will remember. Where are the students at today? Can I hear you? The students! History will write about you. You made a difference during the war in Vietnam, the free speech movement, the movement against apartheid. When Mandela walked out of prison, the first thing he did was he recognized the students all around the world for their support to end apartheid, and you will end this apartheid. Now, in conclusion, I have a message for the Pro-Genocide Caucus. You had your run since 1961. You've had your run. Now there's a new movement. There's Cair Action. There's JVP Action. There's a Working Families Party. There's Justice Democrats. And all these progressive allies working hand in hand to make sure that we punish pro-genocide candidates and elected officials like this governor right here. And we are launching all around the country, in the Midwest, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Florida, North Carolina, Arizona, Michigan, California. We are launching Cair Action chapters everywhere. And we tell our elected officials, no more. Anyone who supports genocide, anyone who supports ethnic supremacy, we will teach you a lesson at the ballot box. And I want to just finally give a shout out to the no ceasefire, no vote. The folks that are here that have been fighting on the ground. We've been watching you from all around the country, and we appreciate you. Thank you.
Next speaker is a comrade that came from Philly for us, Mateo Hintz, an AFSCME union organizer in Philadelphia and a member of Green for Palestine, a nationwide group of AFSCME members, staffers, and retirees who demand that AFSCME end its complicity in U.S.-Israeli imperialism. Thank you.
The labor movement has always been integral in dismantling violent capitalist and imperialist systems, and this moment is no different. Despite what lawmakers want you to believe, workers run the world, right? Yeah, we do. And we have an enormous amount of power to just shut off the tap. We can use our labor to end this, but we gotta get organized. We need to take that power seriously. We need to believe in that power. Because you know who does believe in our power is Palestinian trade unions. They've believed in our power from the jump. They've reached out multiple times for us to show our solidarity. And I understand that it's hard. It's hard to go up against our employers, right? It's especially hard to go up against our own unions. You know, like Green for Palestine, we tried to pass a resolution to get AFSCME to divest from the genocide, and they shot us down. And I know a lot of us, we don't feel ready, you know? We don't feel ready to go on strike, for a general strike. And some members, including myself, even have a no strike clause in our contracts. But if you can, take tomorrow off. Tell your coworkers to take tomorrow off. Encourage your coworkers to do the same. But if you can't, the next best action to do is to start a conversation with your coworkers. Build solidarity, wear keffiyehs, wear buttons, talk about Palestine in your workspaces. Yeah, and especially start looking into your employer's investments and funds. It's gonna take a lot of us to go up against the genocidal regime, but we can get there. It might not happen overnight, it might not happen, at the snap of a finger, but we can get there. We just need to organize. It's not impossible. This has gone on too long. A year is too long. Decades are too long. Over a century, it's too long. So we have the power to stop it. We just need to wield that power. We need to take ourselves seriously. So start organizing. Thank you.
The genocide that is happening to the Palestinian people does not only hold consequences within the borders of the Gaza Strip. Exiled Palestinians have had to watch their homes be destroyed and have seen their way of life be eradicated. Families across the world are now only left with the mourning loss of their loved ones. This is not about who is right or wrong. This is about the thousands of lives that have been wrongfully taken.
It is about shining light to the history that the Palestinian people hold over this land. It is about taking care of each other no matter which side of the border we are on. I want to see a world where innocent lives are protected from inhumane violence regardless of the circumstances. I want a world where there is no punishment tied to speaking against injustices. I want a world where a ceasefire is permanently achieved.
Let us remember that the struggle for justice knows no boundaries, and that the suffering of our brothers and sisters in Gaza demands our unwavering solidarity.
Let us stand together, not as individuals defined by borders, but as members of a global community.
In the face of injustice, our voices must be louder, our actions bolder, and our commitment stronger.
Together, we can build a future where every human being, regardless of race, religion, or nationality, can live in peace. Thank you.
Our final note is going to be a poetry reading by my very dear Palestinian sister, Amina Al-Attar. Please give her a warm welcome.
I'm going to read a poem by Fadi Duda, a Palestinian American poet and physician. Its title is Sunbird. I flit from gleaming river to glistening sea, from all that we to all that me. Fresh east to salty west, southern sweet and northern free. There is a lake between us, and aquifers for cactus and basins of anemone, from the river to the sea. From womb to breath and one with oneness, I be from the river to the sea. Thank you.
As a child, I used to visit this memorial when I attended the Jewish day school and then Hebrew school. And something written into the stone of this memorial is that the Holocaust can happen again to anybody, anywhere. And it is our responsibility to take those words not only as a warning, but as a call to action. As Rabbi Feldman said earlier, we know the lessons from the Holocaust. Zionists will tell you that Jews who died in the Holocaust are weak, and that somehow Israel bombing children in tents from above is strength. I am here to tell you that my ancestors fought against Nazi fascists, just as Palestinians today fight against Zionist fascists. So the last time we planted these flags, we were accused of anti-Semitism for going anywhere near this memorial. Today I'm telling you we reclaim this memorial. This belongs to the legacy of resistance against genocide, and it is an honor for us to march past it. Thank you.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for this BDS teach-in. My name is Gabriel. I'm local here in Harrisburg, and I'm so honored to be sharing this day with all of you. So thank you so much for coming from near and far all over the state. It's an honor. I know tomorrow we will be commemorating one full calendar year of this genocide funded by the US government and the taxes we pay. You may be feeling so many mixed shades of anger, sadness, and rage. Trust me, I feel it too. But something that I want to take away from today, as I hope you all will, is that the people equals power. Definitely make space to feel all of those heavy feelings. It means you are human. But also allow space for the strength that comes from uniting with others for the greater good. Look around you at all the people who have gathered here today to engage in peaceful protests, united under the desire to see an end to a US-funded genocide and military violence. Thank you for heeding the call. We are here because we have a right to decide where our tax money is used. And we say we don't want our taxes paying for more bombs. Not for bombs that Israel drops on schools, not for bombs that they drop on apartment buildings, not for bombs that they drop on mosques, not for bombs that they drop on churches, not for bombs that they drop on refugee camps, not for bombs that they drop on hospitals, not for bombs that they drop on cemeteries, and not for bombs that they drop on orphanages. We have so many issues here at home that could use that tax money, and Stacey Garrity, our Pennsylvania state treasurer, who is up for re-election this year, might I add. Stacey believes it is in Pennsylvania's best interest to invest an additional $20 million in Israeli bonds since October 7th, on top of the existing $36 million, for a total of $56 million in Israeli bonds paid for by our Pennsylvania tax dollars last year. Stacey, have you driven down 2nd Street lately? How are the tires on your car doing? That's money coming out of our paychecks from hours of our hard work, not going to fixing the potholes in the road, not going to feeding and rehabilitating our homeless citizens, not going to preparing for climate crisis, not going to bettering our public schools, not going to tuition forgiveness, not going to fixing the Broad Street Market fire that burned down over a year ago, and not going to helping the small businesses affected by said fire. We could sit here all day and discuss hundreds of ideas of how to better use that money that will better the lives of people here in Pennsylvania, but oh my gosh, I forgot. We did that already. On February 5th, Pennsylvanians from all over the state gathered outside of Stacey's office and delivered the People's Investment Portfolio. It was over 20 feet long, an artboard that we filled with ideas for how Stacey could better use our money. And yes, I mean our money. We can't let them forget where that money comes from, and clearly, we would make better stewards of those funds. We, the people, suggest using that money to invest in areas like affordable housing, food security, roads and bridges, to name a few. And even though Israel is committing the most documented genocide in history in Gaza and the West Bank, and spreading that same colonial violence to Lebanon, Syria, Yemen, and Iran, our treasurer and other officials in our government believe that our tax dollars are better served given to an extremist regime instead of being invested right here at home. Israel acts with impunity. They escalate tensions in the region with daily war crimes. They kill hundreds of thousands of innocent men, women, and children. And people like Stacey Garrity want to keep writing them checks with our money, with your money.
Shame,
shame. Even when we write, call, email, show up outside of their offices, we are still not heard. I'm here to remind you all, and to remind myself, that even in the times when we are ignored and made to feel powerless, that the power of the people is greater than the people in power. Each individual has the ability to shift the tide, using the power of your voice and also the power of your wallet, which leads me to the purpose of today's teaching. 3 powerful letters, BDS. Many of you already may be aware, but the acronym BDS stands for Boycott, Divest, Sanction. I feel that most of us know BDS as a way of life by now. My body hasn't had McDonald's or Starbucks in like a year and couldn't be happier. but it is also the name of the Palestinian-led movement for freedom, justice, and equality. Boycotting is something impactful we can all do individually on a daily basis, simply withholding our money and support from companies complicit in or profiting off of Israel's genocide. Divestments are something we can urge our religious institutions, universities, banks, and local councils to do to stop from sending our money to fund more war crimes. And finally, sanctions are something we can demand our government to do to fulfill their legal obligation of ending genocide and apartheid by banning business with illegal settlements, ending military and free trade agreements, and suspending Israel's membership in international forums. The BDS movement officially formed around 2005 and draws inspiration from an organization that led the fight against a similar enemy in South Africa. The anti-apartheid movement was a British organization that was at the center of the international movement opposing the South African apartheid system. The anti-apartheid movement took a bit of time to gain traction, but since its inception, it had a simple goal that was described as follows. We are not asking for anything special of the people. We are just asking you to withdraw your support from apartheid by not buying South African goods. And for a full year now, we've been asking our leaders to withdraw their support from genocide. And though they may not listen, don't forget that we still hold the power in our hands. You all have the power to boycott and withdraw support from genocide by not buying Israeli goods or buying from companies that profit off of Israel's genocide in Palestine and the killing of innocent civilians. Yes, we are getting ready for an election next month, but remember that every time you are shopping, you are voting with your dollar. There's excellent resources out there, like the wonderful zines you may have already received today, full of BDS info and how you can do your part in boycotting. If you're worried you can't keep track of all the companies on the list, there are some great apps out there, such as Boycott and No Thanks. Both of those apps that you can download on your phone and use the next time that you're shopping at the store just by scanning a barcode and checking to see if that product is safe to buy. We know from the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa that this kind of movement can successfully result in our government changing course and divesting from evil. But evidence of this kind of people power is found throughout history and throughout the world. We all know someone by the name of Rosa Parks and her bravely refusing to give up her seat to a white man and move to the back of the bus. But did you know that it was her arrest for this civil disobedience that sparked the Montgomery bus boycotts, a 13-month mass protest that ended with the U.S. Supreme Court ruling that segregation on public buses is unconstitutional? This established Martin Luther King Jr. as a civil rights leader and showcased how nonviolent protests and boycotts succeed in creating positive change. The power that we have when we come together is greater than any evil. Because of the BDS movement and actions by individuals like yourselves, Israel's economy is already feeling the effects. Since October 7th of last year, 46,000 Israeli companies have filed for bankruptcy, and the tourism industry is collapsing. Huge tech companies like Samsung and Intel have either canceled contracts or pulled out completely. Even the energy sector is taking a hit as Israel largely relied on coal from Colombia, and in May of this year, Colombia cut all diplomatic ties with them. It also confirms the notion that we can make all the demands that we'd like, but money talks. They may not listen to our words, but businesses will listen to the quarterly earnings reports that show them losing money for supporting or profiting off of war crimes. If boycotting wasn't such a successful tool, they wouldn't be trying so hard to make it illegal to boycott and divest from Israel. Have you heard of the anti-BDS legislation that has been passed here in Pennsylvania? The Stand With Israel Act, which prohibits holdings in the PA State Treasury or Commonwealth pension funds from boycotting or divesting from Israel and companies doing business with Israel passed in the state Senate this past summer. After months of us taking action and demanding Pennsylvania divest from genocide, after statewide action across multiple universities and colleges, with students demanding that their tuition no longer be used for war crimes, this is how our government responded. This is not unprecedented. In fact, back during the Montgomery bus boycotts, protesters received backlash from fellow citizens and local government alike trying to stomp out the movement. They know the power that we carry when we organize for the greater good. They know that historically, when the people gather for justice, that justice will prevail. Politicians have an obligation to put the will of the people first. That is their job, and quite literally, we are their employers. Friends, they can keep trying to intimidate us, but we know that the power of the people is greater than the people in power. Pennsylvania will divest from genocide. We will see to it. Free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine!
Thank you so much. Please welcome our next speaker, Kaltu Nabila.
My name is Nabila, and I am the daughter of survivors of the Nakba. Today I have a quiz. We'll start with a quiz. So BDS, what does B stand for? What does D stand for? Yes. What does S stand for? Sanction. Thank you. I've been living in central Pennsylvania for over 40 years. In prior lives, in years past, I used to talk with two sisters. One was a Jewish sister and one was a Christian sister. And we used to go, the three of us, a Christian, Muslim, and a Jew, and talk about how different, how similar our faiths are. We talked at universities, we talked at churches, we talked at schools. Anybody who would invite us, we would talk and tell them about what's happening in occupied Palestine. Invariably, people will ask me, some of them naive, and some of them not so naive. They will say, where is your Gandhi? Where is your Malcolm X? Where is your Mandela? And I would tell them that actually Palestinians all over, whether in the West Bank, in Gaza, everywhere, they will go along with some courageous people who go from here and around the world, and they will try to demonstrate, to go peacefully, to say no to destruction of our homes, no to taking our land, no to confiscating our farms, no to demolishing our homes, no to killing our children, no to taking young children as young as 5 years into your prisons, where you treat them as criminals and as terrorists, where you have an apartheid state. But you see, the people who were asking me, because it wasn't in the news, because we know the news does not cover the humanity of Palestinians, so they didn't hear it. Then BDS came along, and guess what? The Israeli lobby, AIPAC, and our corrupt leaders in these houses implemented laws that will shut us off. They said it's illegal to boycott. They said we are anti-Semitic. They said that we are doing it because it's a Jewish state. And we said, no, we are boycotting because it's genocide, because it is apartheid, because it is committing war crimes, because it is taking our land, our children, our soul, our freedom, ourselves, and leaving nothing there. Today, I want to tell you about some of those laws and ask you for action, because, as Gabriel said, those who are sitting in this building and in that building where we started today, they work for us. We hire them, and we can fire them. They work for us. We pay their salaries. We keep them in those offices, but they take us for granted. They come to us only at election time to ask for our money and for our votes. And this time, we are going to say enough. We are going to hold you accountable. In 2018, I went with few friends to Washington, D.C. to visit our elected officials at the Capitol. And at that time, there was a proposed law. It's called Strengthening America's Security in the Middle East Act of 2019. You see, they always call it something so nice, but it's so insidious. It's always rotten on the inside. And invariably, those politicians that we met, they said, we don't see you. AIPAC is here all the time. We don't hear from you. So I want you to change that. I want you to be in their face and talk to them. But before we get there, I want to tell you this beautiful Strengthening America's Security in the Middle East Act. What does it include? And then we'll come to the laws in Pennsylvania. I'll be brief. So it says, Subtitle A, Security Assistance for Israel, Statement of Policy Regarding Israel's Defense Systems, Assistance for Israel. Section 114, Extension of War Reserves Stockpile Authority. Section 115, Extension of Loan Guarantees to Israel. And, you know, we talk about the 3.8 billion and now like 25 billion that we gave, but we don't talk about the loans that are zero interest. How many here would love to have a loan with zero interest? And then in few years, they say, you know what, you don't even have to pay. How would you like that? Zero interest and never pay it back. Section 116, transfer of precision-guided munitions to Israel. So they do have precision-guided munitions. So when they tell us they are killing those children by mistake, they are lying. They do have precision-guided munitions. Section 117, Sense of Congress on Rapid Acquisition and Development Procedures. Section 118, Eligibility of Israel for the Strategic Trade Authorization Exception for certain export control licensing requirements. So Israel is exceptional. No laws apply to them. All the laws we talk about, they don't apply to them. And who's making them an exception? Our Congress. Section 118. Substitute B, subtitle B. Enhanced United States-Israel cooperation. Section 121, United States-Israel space cooperation. Did you know that the United States and Israel are cooperating in space? Section 122, United States-Israel enhanced partnership for development cooperation in developing nations. Why would Israel be in developing nations? Israel, the small state, remember, it's so small. And yet, it's in developing nations doing what? Creating havoc, creating wars, creating mayhem. That's what they are doing, and our Congress is telling them to do it. Subtitle C, ensuring Israel's qualitative military edge. So instead of our government making sure that we have the money to spend on our schools, to make sure that we don't have homeless people, that we do not have potholes, that our schools are the best funded, that when a hurricane hits North Carolina, we have the money to pay for our citizens. Instead, we send the money to Israel. Because who is paying bribes and paying for those politicians? Because they can pass bills and laws like this while we aren't paying attention. And I say today, enough, enough. We are going to wake up and hold him accountable. He talked before that we have 27 states that have adopted laws and policies that penalize businesses, organizations, or individuals that engage in or call for boycott against Israel. This means more than 250 million Americans, 78% of the US population. In Pennsylvania, of course Pennsylvania is one of those, we have two acts. One that was passed before, and that's House Bill or Act 163 of 2016. Here's a letter from a corrupt member of this House. He is from Pittsburgh, Dan Frankel. I don't know if he's still there, I hope not. But if he's your congressman, please give him a hand. He wrote to the Honorable Tom Wolf, who was at the time the governor of Pennsylvania, and I'm going to cut to his chase. He says, Act 163 states that the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania as a purchasing agency may not contract with a company to acquire or dispose of supplies, services, or construction that exceed the applicable small purchase threshold unless the company certifies. Each company has to certify, each person has to certify, one, that the company is not currently engaged in a boycott of a person or an entity based in or doing business with a jurisdiction which the Commonwealth is not prohibited by congressional status from engaging in trade or commerce. You see, as Americans, who heard of the Boston Tea Party? All right. So that's as American as apple pie. That's what they teach our children from first grade into adulthood, right? They tell us that's what we engaged. We boycotted the British for putting taxes on us. And yet now, this Congress here and our corrupt governor wants to tell us that you can boycott only the companies we tell you to, that you don't have anymore the right to choose for yourself. You can't have the right to speak freely. You can't say, I don't want to buy from here, I don't want to buy from here. They are taking that from us. They are taking our freedoms back out. They are harassing us. This is harassment, this is terrorism. So the second item, a company will not, during the duration of the contract, engage in a boycott of a person or an entity based in or doing business with a jurisdiction where the Commonwealth is not prohibited by congressional status from engaging in trade or commerce. So again, they are saying that they will take our liberties away. And we say, what do you say? Say no. We say, hello. And as if it's not enough that they took all of that, now, after you're standing up in February, you're standing here and tell them no, tell them we want to divest, they want to do even more. They want to choke us, and we say no. So they have State Bill number 1260, session of 2024. This bill will make it even harder. So it will prohibit any company from divesting from Israel. It will prohibit universities from divesting from Israel. It will prohibit our retirement system from divesting from Israel. Even as, if you are following the news, their rating is going down, which means by law, as a judiciary, they should divest. Yeah, that's by law. They should divest because it's becoming soon, inshallah, junk bonds. So we should divest. But they are taking that away from us, and we say no. So I'm going to tell you, what do you need to do? It passed through the Senate. Now it's up for the House. If it passes the House, the governor is waiting for it to sign it. So we need to stop it. So I'm going to ask, how many here in this crowd work or live in Harrisburg? By show of hand. Okay. Can you stop, like on your lunch hour, and go to your congressman's office and say, there is this bill number 1260, the Stand With Israel Act. That's what it's called. And I do not support it, and as my congressperson, I want you to oppose it. Can you call every day, and they record it. By law, they have to record it. They have to keep track of how many people called against or for a bill. Our opposition are calling all the time. Please call. Please call. It takes you 1 minute. Now, if you forget what the name of the bill, that's okay. Some people in Gaza are relying on us. They are relying on each of us. Let's hire and fire. Let's hold them accountable once they know that we have the power. And I'm going to end up. Thank you for coming. People. Power. People. Power. People. Power. People. Power. Who can fire them? We can. Who pays them? We do. Who hires them? We do. Let's fire those who stand against our free right to boycott.
Cair Action is a 501c4. What is a 501c4? You guys, this measure right here is a 501c3. It's a non-profit organization, tax deductible. A 501c4 is AIPAC. AIPAC is a 501c4. When people think of AIPAC, they think of a PAC, which is a political action committee. AIPAC is not a political action committee. AIPAC has been around since 1961 as a public affairs committee, which has no legal standing. They're just a C4 that endorses elected officials. And when they endorse elected officials, there are 100 affiliated PACs start donating to them. And then so we launched using the Cair name because the Cair brand is strong. I mean that everywhere. MashaAllah, here in Pennsylvania, you have Ahmed. Where's Brother Ahmed? Where'd he go? Right there, MashaAllah. Cair Philadelphia in the house, MashaAllah. You have Cair Pittsburgh. We're bringing that California model. So in California, over the years, we built Cair to a powerhouse. Over 100 full-time staff, a legal team, a civil rights team, an immigration team, government relations team, lobbyists all over California that lobby at the state level, at the state house, full-time, with support staff, plus in San Francisco Bay Area, Central California, in Greater Los Angeles, and San Diego. So we learned over the years, over the past 20 years, of what works for our community. So now in 2024, some community members launched a PAC, which helped Keith Ellison win his race. Rashida Tlaib's seed money came from California. So we're now taking national. In 2019, we launched Cair California Action, which is the C4, like I said, so competitor to AIPAC. And then we now just took it national. And so what I want you all to imagine, that the American Muslim community around the country, right, is working together, not only uniting our community, but also working with our allies, right? Who are our allies? Our allies are JVP Action, Working Families Party, Justice Democrats, progressive groups that are around the country that have been there with us in the trenches, supporting us all these years. And so this is what we plan to do, inshallah, unite the community. We've been traveling all around the country, setting up these chapters. And so you guys are more important than California, as you know. Pennsylvania, you're a battleground state. Everyone's paying attention to what you're doing. Our votes, it's a blue state, so no one pays attention to us. So inshallah, the first step right now is we're going to launch Cair Action. Then we're going to launch Cair Action PAC. Cair Action PAC is a coordinated PAC which allows you to engage elected officials, to host them at your homes, host events with them, talk to them about the races and all that. Then we also, as a community, we also have an endorsed super PAC, which is called the Unity and Justice Fund, which we already started using. We used it in the Jamal Bowman campaign. We used it in the Cori Bush campaign. So we have all the different entities to build power for our community. And our allies have been waiting for this moment. You know, there's the Reject AIPAC Alliance, there's so many different groups, so many independent expenditure tables. So we're asking all of you to join this effort. Go to cairaction.org, become members. A small donation of $25, minimum $25 annually, makes you a member. And then you'll hear from us soon as we launch major campaigns. We're finalizing our endorsements next week. This is going to be the first time in our community's history where in California we do like 30 counties. Now we're going to be doing many states around the country. And here's one thing. Sometimes we get frustrated with our community, why they don't vote. I'll be honest with you, I don't blame them. Because many folks don't, there's no organization telling them who to vote for. And most folks don't have the time to do the research to find out who should they vote for. So we're finally doing that. We've hired folks, we're doing the research, the questionnaires, and we're supporting our allies all around the country. And so this endorsement guides are going to be coming out next week, inshallah. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you follow us on social media, Cair Action. In some states, we actually have handles. So inshallah, we're going to have a Cair Action Pennsylvania one soon, inshallah. So we look forward to working with all of you. And mashallah, inshallah, you guys are going to make a big difference in November, inshallah. One thing we're going to launch is a training program. So for folks that are interested in running for office or getting appointed to a commission, also a training program for folks interested to work on campaigns. So we're connected some of the top experts in campaigns, from data to field to phones and all that. So for folks that are interested in getting more involved in campaigns and maybe making a future career to be a campaign manager, we'll have a training program for that as well. And then a youth leadership program that we do at the state capitol in California. We do plan to bring that around the country, and so hopefully we can do it one day with the support of Omar and the folks out here to do it at the state capitol here as well.
So how many people were at the rally today? A lot of people. So I think for the next 3 minutes, I want to bring up a sister of mine, Sundos, if she can come sit right next to me, and just talk a little bit about the amount of effort, planning, organizing that's required. As a lot of us know, how many people here have organized events before? Raise your hand. Or are currently organizing an event? Raise your hand. I'm looking at certain people, right? We know that how difficult it is. In this moment, truly, I want everybody here to understand something. The devastation, to recenter where we are, the devastation that we're seeing in Palestine, in Gaza, the Dovid, inside, in Lebanon, in Syria, we have not seen a level of destruction to this extent in a very long time. And a lot of people who are here because the calling of being a human compels you to be here, because we are watching children disappearing completely. To the extent that if a family member finds an arm, they're lucky. And they walk down the street with that arm, with a smile on their face, because they were lucky enough to be the Palestinian that had a body part left. That's where we are. And the reason I want to bring Sundas here is because what it takes, not just to organize Harrisburg, not just to organize in the Lehigh Valley, not just to organize in Scranton, not just to organize in Pittsburgh and Philadelphia and all these areas. It takes a person, it takes people, it takes community that needs to learn what patience is. It takes a community to understand that people are going to have a lot of differences. It's going to take a community that needs to understand that there's a lot of egos in the spaces, even in a moment of devastation that we're in. We see egos come up. So today wasn't just put together. Today wasn't planned a week ago or 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago. Today was planned months ago by a group of organizers from around the state. And that group of organizers had to include every small intricacy of how today went. Where the police would be and where the police wouldn't be. If people would be safe or if people would not be safe. If people were going to be attacked or not be attacked. What is the messaging? Who is included? How do we get our message to the media so that it's seen in a particular way? What are the goals of the things that we're trying to do? And something that a lot of us need to understand is, I think a lot of us are feeling the same things. What more can we do? For 12 months, we've been trying every damn thing. And we still turn on our screens and see more and more and more and more devastation. And we have two options. Option number one is to fall into that depression, to fall into the weight and the gravity of feeling like we're powerless. Or option number 2 is to hold each other stronger. And to understand, like when we have a janazah, for example, we always remind each other. When we glorify our martyrs, we remind each other that a janazah is the departure of the deceased and a lesson for the living. And the lesson for the living is that we're still here and we still have this time. And we need to work with one another to figure out those impacts, to learn from our mistakes, to try new ways of impacting, whether it be on a social level, whether it be protest, whether it be political. We aren't entirely sure what the greatest impact is yet, but as a community, we're building and understand what that could be. So in these moments after this, I think it is important, as we hear from Brother Bassem, who's on the political side, as we hear from Brother Ahmed, who's on the social side. Many of you may not know, in Pittsburgh, we have over 20 students and activists who are facing felony charges, felony criminal charges for speaking up on student campuses. Does anyone, raise your hand if you know what a felony is. Felony charges are the highest degree of criminal charge that a person can get in the United States of amnesia. It is the highest charge. And the question is, these are our children. And when our children are facing criminal charges and their careers and their futures are on the line because we taught them to speak up when things are wrong. We teach them in Islam that when you see something, fix it with your hand. And if you can't, fix it with your lips or your tongue. And if you can't, fix it in your heart. But fixing it in your heart is the weakest form of iman. So we teach our kids not to go for the weakest form, but to go for the best form. To organize an encampment and to put your body on the line and your career and your future on the line and sacrifice because they can't take it anymore. They're boiling on the inside, seeing people their age and younger. They're boiling, seeing a list of names of people who haven't reached 1 year old on the death list in Gaza. But even with all of that trauma that we face in the diaspora, as Arabs and Muslims who know that this is going on, even when we see that, we continue, and sometimes it's hard to see the numbers dwindle. Back in October, we saw the numbers big and large and people out and screaming, but over time, people start to lose hope in the things that we've accomplished. But there's some people that don't. There's going to be some people that don't, and that's why they say that 80% of the work is done by 20% of the people. So sometimes in these smaller, intimate situations, you look around at that 20%, and if you are a Muslim in this room, ask ourselves, why is it that Salah, the Jama'ah, is more valuable than Salah alone? Why? Why can't we just pray by ourselves? Why, at the end of the prayer, do we say, Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah? Why? Because of the angels on your shoulders? Maybe, yeah, that's one aspect. But there's a person on your right and a person on your left. Don't leave the masjid without making a relationship with the people next to you. And one way to form a relationship is through activism and through direct action and civil disobedience and putting your body on the line to remind people that no matter how hard it gets, I'm going to be on the street because this is an important topic that everyone needs to hear about. You know how many people drove down Front Street today and saw those flags? You know how many people drove down and saw all of the signs that were put? You know how many children that were there that will never forget if this was their first or second or third protest? These are things that we need, and we need consistently, even if it feels as if it's not impacting the way that we want. So with that very long intro, the reason I want to bring some of this just to speak a little bit about what the team put together in the last few months to know how difficult this is because for those parents that are here and for those kids that are here, the younger ones, is we need more folks to get on board and to be energized and to mobilize and to strategize on what types of impacts we want to see here in central Pennsylvania. And then eventually, how do we connect what we're doing in central Pennsylvania with western Pennsylvania and Pittsburgh and Philadelphia in the east and Scranton in the north, and so on and so forth. Until we figure out how locally we can build a movement that is unbreakable, it is very far for us to believe how we're gonna get people on board all over this world. It starts with bit. It starts in the house. It starts with your family. It starts with how you teach your children. And I'm sorry for keep going, but we are having a problem right now in Pittsburgh, for example, where the Muslim Student Association in our colleges is fearful to speak up for Palestine. I don't blame those kids. I don't blame those kids. But how are we teaching our children to sacrifice? Do we mean it when we tell them about Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and what he sacrificed? Or is it just a story? Do we mean what we say when we're telling ourselves that in order for us to reach a goal against an enemy the way that it is, that we need to sacrifice? And do we believe that we can do it? Because when Sayyidina Musa was sent to the Pharaoh, he brought down a kingdom, an oppressor with so much less than we have. We have so much. We have talent. We have people. We have resources. But we have to figure out, how do we energize more folks to understand that words and in the heart is the weaker of faith. It's the weaker of faith. The action is the strongest of faith. So because of that, the action that went on today, we need to understand, how was that put together? What went into that? It's not just a flyer and a truck and a couple of very energetic people on the truck, right? Those are components of it. But just to hear for the next few minutes, what types of things went into getting that many people and organizations from across the state together. So with no further ado, my sister Cindy, would you please take the stage?
Over the last 2 months, I've been begging people not to force me to speak. I want to be in the background doing work and not really this, because I feel like the images that I've had to see and that we've all had to see day in and day out for 12 months straight have really wrecked with the way that I can form sentences and talk to people and make sense of the things that I know in my heart are true and right, but saying the right things at the right time has gotten harder than it's ever gotten. And the reason why I wanted to do this and to make it a statewide thing is I feel like the lack of visibility in our town for people in Palestine, for people in Gaza, we need to show up for them. How can we go 12 whole months of a live stream genocide, watching it every day from our phones, and not showing up? There are thousands of us, thousands of Arabs, thousands of Muslims in the communities here. But does Gaza see that? That to me really hurts my soul, because one of the most important things in the way that I operate is community and collective power, collective liberation. The fact that alone we can do things, yeah, but together we're so incredibly powerful. We can stop traffic. We can make people back away. You can move mountains when you have a collective of people that are committed and dedicated to something. And for me, this escalation of genocide, because we all know that it's been genocide for over 76 years, from the 1800s when they were deciding to colonize Palestine. But this escalation of genocide is so horrific, and seeing people move on with their lives like nothing is happening is mind-blowing to me. I grew up with the same stories about the Prophet and fighting for justice and speaking up and making sure that your neighbor is okay. Even if you don't like your neighbor, it doesn't matter if you agree with your neighbor, you make sure he's okay, he's safe, he's healthy, he has food on his table. So what are we doing for Gaza? And to me, we have able bodies, we have able minds, we can do so much if we just stick together. This whole process, I mean, it started a few months ago, and my idea was, where is gonna have the most impact? What are we going to do that's going to actually show people that we have not forgotten about Gaza, that we are going to fight for them, that regardless of what happens in these elections, which are going to be over and done with in a month, that we have people that are committed to fighting for Gaza, for Palestine, for liberation, for our country to stop funding destruction and war and death. So it took a lot of reaching out to people. And let me honestly tell you guys, I hate starting new conversations. I hate calling people. I hate trying to build new relationships. I have a lot of anxiety. And that's part of the reason why I don't want to be up on stage. It's so much anxiety that it keeps me up at night all the time. But at the end of the day, there are things way more important than my feelings, than my discomfort. We always have to center each other first. If we take care of each other, there's nothing for them that we need from our government, to be honest with you. And I'm on the far side of what it means for liberation, I guess. For me, I really believe that right here we have everything we need to survive, to be well, to succeed, to make whatever we want to happen. A small number of people can do a lot. You don't need the whole entire world. You just need people truly committed to each other, truly committed to each other's wellness and happiness and health, and to really uplift each other and empower each other. And what I found after many different, reaching out to different people, I found people who similarly centered community and liberation and collective power, like our lovely friends in Pittsburgh, our lovely friends in the Lehigh-Nepa Valley, our lovely friends in Berks, people who really, they were called to action and they acted. Because they saw that centering Palestine means that it doesn't matter what I'm working on right now, it doesn't matter what I'm feeling right now, how burned out I am. It's been 12 months of us marching and putting on events and doing whatever else we're doing. But at the end of the day, we're not living under bombardment. So we have the privilege. And they understood that. And I really appreciate that so much. Even after Palestine is free, which it will be free. It will be free. Palestine needs to be rebuilt. And we can't just be like, okay, let's move on. Things are okay there. After Palestine is free, we still have work to do here at home for our own communities, for our own voices to matter. So what is it going to take for us to see each other every single day and make this happen, make this community what it can be, where if I call you, you're there. Because that's what I did too. I called Pitt and they were there. I called Berks and they were there. I called Nepa Lehigh Valley folks and they were immediately like, we got this, we got that, what else do you need? And we need to do that for each other every single day. In order for us to take a step back, we need to know that we can lean on somebody else.